living business in the next 12 months. Excited to have you here with me today for our live session. Today we're going to be talking about finding the perfect home for residential assisted living. So I'm going to go ahead and add this to the scene. And for those of you who need some help getting things started, make sure you go and grab the business plan checklist. We've got a ticker going across the bottom so you can remember what that website is, but assistedlivinginvesting.net/BP checklist. You can go and grab that. For those of you who are new and watching me for the first time, welcome. Thanks for being here. Excited to have you. Make sure you type in newbie down below so I can see who's here and get a feel for the new people that are watching, and type in any questions that you have. We're going to have time for some Q&A here at the end, so make sure that you are typing in those questions as we go along, so I can hit those questions. We'll have some time. I do have a time constraint here at the top of the hour, so I will need to finish by the top of the hour, but still, and ask your questions so I can hit on those. And again, grab that free resource, the business plan checklist at assistedlivinginvesting.net/BP checklist. All right. So with that out of the way, I want to kind of introduce myself as well, because I know some of you are new here and may not know who I am. So my name is Brandon. I own two assisted living facilities. I operate them out of state. So I live in Utah, and one of my facilities is in Colorado. The other facility is in Idaho, and I operate those remotely. Have been doing this since 2020, and let's see, I've got to flip my screen so I can see my stuff. I've secured over $1.5 million in SBA funding as well through the process of going through this. And I also have a master's in healthcare administration, have worked in the healthcare industry for over a decade, and have a lot of experience just kind of working through things. So that's me in a nutshell. And what I'm here to do is help you launch your assisted living business. So now let's get into the topic today. Again, we're talking about how to find that home for RAL, for a residential assisted living home. It can be hard. It can be hard to find the exact thing, and so we're going to kind of get into that here in today's video. So the first question is there a perfect home for this? And I gotta say, each opportunity is unique. And what I want you to make sure that you do, and I teach this to everybody, is to build your foundation to make sure that it works for you. We're actually doing a live workshop here in a couple of weeks. If you go to assistedlivinginvesting.net/BFB for Business Foundation Basics, you can join in that live. If you're watching this later, we'll have the link so you can still purchase the replay of that workshop after the fact. But if you get in on this here in the next couple of weeks, you'll be able to be there live, ask questions and things like that. But the reason why we're doing that workshop is building that foundation is one of the most important things you can do. Building a business plan, it's going to allow you to get some clarity for yourself on what you're trying to build, what population you want to serve, where you want to be, doing the market research, figuring out what that looks like, and if you've got the perfect market for assisted living or not. It's also going to allow you to do underwriting and make sure that it works for you. Just having a 3-bedroom home is great, but when you start looking at the numbers and things like that, because you're running a business, you got to pay people, you got to feed your residents. Like, there's a lot of financials that go into this, a lot of expenses that goes into running this business, and having a 3-bedroom home may not work for you. It might. I don't want to tell you that it won't, but you have to know that. You have to run the numbers, you have to figure it out. So is there a perfect home? I always like to say the more the better. I personally wouldn't look at anything that's less than 10 beds. I prefer 12 or more. My facilities are 16 beds in each of them. However, I teach people in my mastermind program. You can apply to that at alimastermind.com. Simple application, free application process. Fill it out. If you're a good fit, if I feel like I can help you out, then I'll send you all the program details. You can decide if it's a good fit for you or not. But I have people inside the mastermind program that are looking at smaller 6-bed facilities, and they'll run the numbers and it looks good. And so it's really kind of a risk tolerance. Where do you feel comfortable with? So really, I don't think there's a perfect home for it. Um, my home in Idaho is as perfect a home as I could think of, actually. It is 3,500 square feet. There's 11 bedrooms, 11 or 12 bathrooms, living space, dining room. Like, it is laid out specifically for assisted living. It's probably as perfect an opportunity as you could find, but not everybody can find that. It's actually purpose built to be assisted living. So there's those opportunities out there, but each opportunity should be taken by itself and evaluated to see if it's a good opportunity or not. That's what I would encourage you to do. So, how many square feet do you need? This is another question I see, and all of this is actually coming from somebody that had a question inside of YouTube in a comment, and so I'm answering all of that. So the question was, how many square feet do you need? And really, the square footage of the home is not that important. There's no like requirement. Hey, if you want to have X amount of residents, you have to have a 2,500 square feet foot home, and if you want Y amount, then you've got to have 4,000. There's no guidance there. The guidance actually comes down to bedrooms and the sizes of bedrooms. So in most states, and you want to check this out in your state, but in most states, 100 square feet is what is required for a single room. So if you are wanting to have non-shared rooms, each room needs to be at least 100 square feet. So think a 10 by 10 room. That's what's required. If you're doing a shared room, then there needs to be 80 square feet per resident in that shared room. So you're thinking 160 square foot room for two residents. There might be rules around that if you have more than two. I don't know that I would ever do more than two. That seems like a bit much to me, but there might be circumstances there. And if you have a huge room, a 240 square foot room, technically you could probably do that, but you want to check with the state on each of these. Check with the state, with your state, on the specific requirements for your room sizes. But there is no hard and fast rule that says a house has to be a certain amount of square feet. It is much more how many square feet are in a room, and then the other spaces within the house. Kitchen is you typically have to have a kitchen and have a dining space. A lot of states will also require some kind of a living space, just like a community type of an area. So those are the types of things that you want to be looking at. What types of rooms are required, and then how many square feet does a bedroom need? Those are the things that you need to be looking at, not the size of the home. That's honestly not as important as these other things. How many rooms do you need? Um, this is a good question, and we go back to that what I was saying earlier as to uh, what's the perfect home. And I would say smaller homes are a lot more difficult to be profitable. In the mastermind, I was talking with somebody about this yesterday, just last night, and he has a home that's a 3-bedroom home, and looking at turning it into a small assisted living, but they would work in it. He and his wife would be the ones that are working in it. And I have a video on my channel that's kind of 2 or 3 bedroom home really be profitable. And the conclusion that we came to in that video, and I encourage you to go watch it, is if you work in the home, you can make it work. There's not a lot of profit in it, but you can make it work. You can get it to cash flow a little bit and have it make sense. Uh, but in most cases, larger homes are better from a financial standpoint. You can, in most states, I see a lot of the 16 bed is the kind of maximum amount that you can get there, but I know there's some that get up to 20. So you want to look, and I think some only go to 12. So you want to look at what your state allows for a residential assisted living home. And if you want to do something else, then you might be classified as your license type might be something that's slightly different and fall into that big box area. But you want to check this out. But the more beds that you have available in your home, the more income that you're going to get. The smaller the home, the tighter the margins are. This is why I talked to you about those foundations, the business foundation, and getting that in place. It's so important for you to do that, because if you don't, then it, like, you might be losing money. So you have to be really careful with this. Again, if you need some help with the business foundations, go check out the business foundations basics course. We'll be doing the live workshop here in a couple of weeks, and after the fact, you can still buy the replay of that. But that's assistedlivinginvesting.net/BFB for business foundation basics. So that's something I want you to look at. There's no requirement that says you have to have at least X amount of bedrooms, but from a financial standpoint, the more rooms that you have in a home, the more residents you can have, and the more you're going to cash flow. So that's something I want you to be aware of. Other rooms. So apart from the bedrooms, and this is what we were just talking about here just a second ago, is the rooms that are going to be required more than likely are a kitchen. There will absolutely be a requirement for a kitchen. That is going to be in every single state. It needs to be, has to pass inspections, has to be up to code and things like that. So kitchen is number one. You're going to need a dining space, a space where residents can eat. And if you've got 16 residents in a home, you've got to have a decently sized space for those residents to eat. So you can do that. Next is a living space. So this is just like lounging, TV area where people can sit, you can play games, those types of things. Living space is something you need. And then some type of a visiting area. During the COVID period, there were requirements that were put into place. I don't think I think they may have gone away, but you had to have a separate room for specifically for visiting, that had to have a certain amount of square feet in it, type of a thing. And so for some facilities, that meant that you had to, one of your bedrooms you couldn't use because it had to, for new residents, because it had to be your designated visiting area. So that's something that you want to be aware of. Some states may have kept that type of a rule. Where I'm at with my facilities, they did not, but that's something you need to look at. The best place for you to go to figure all of this out is to do an internet search for something like assisted living licensing, in my state, and then look through some of those requirements. There will be links and things like that that you can figure out for yourself. All of the answers to all of these questions, is a really good place for you to start. Now, let's talk about stairs. For those of you that watched, we did a tour of my facility in Colorado, and if you haven't seen that, then make sure you just go check that out. It's the full tour of my facility where we had the $1 million grant. And if you watch that video, I have a ton of stairs in that house. It's 4 stories tall. It's a stair like what we're looking at here on those stairs. It kind of makes me a little bit dizzy, but that's kind of what the stairs are in that house. They're all over the place. There's a lot of them. You have to check with your state. Some states do not allow stairs, like period, that's it. Other states do, but there will be certain limitations on there. And one of them is if you have stairs, you have to have residents that can handle those stairs. If not, then you cannot meet their needs and they cannot be in your house anymore. So that means that if you have a resident that can't do stairs, you're not meeting their needs, you have to discharge them, and then you have a vacancy. So stairs are possible. Check with your state, but it is possible to have stairs in an assisted living facility. I have them in mind, but it does limit you in the type of resident that can come in. We have had to turn residents away or discharge residents because they cannot handle stairs. And that's just the reality of what we deal with inside of that house in our Colorado home. So that's something you want to be aware of. But you can figure that out as you're doing your intake process and your assessment of residents, if they'd be able to handle stairs or not. Other requirements, these were a few questions that came up. Ceiling height, I'm not aware of any ceiling height type of requirements inside of an assisted living. A state may have that. I would guess that it needs to be at least a standard height, so an 8-foot ceiling, but always check. Never assume, always double check. Ceiling height would be something that you would ask the fire department, more than likely. Fire suppression system, do you need it? How invasive does it need to be? I've had videos on the channel that talk specifically about fire suppression systems, so you need to figure out what that's going to look like for you. Storage, do you need certain amounts of storage, a pantry, medical supplies, those types of things? Do you need it? Where's it going to go? Does it need to be locked? Those types of things. You need to understand exactly what that looks like for you. There will likely be some type of requirement for storage, though. Closet space. This is for your residents. My understanding in looking at a few states, and again, I would check your state, but closets, like a specifically built closet inside of a bedroom, is not required for assisted living. You do, however, have to provide some kind of a clothing storage space. So that could be a wardrobe or a dresser or something like that. So you need to check with your state's rules. But a closet, like a built-in closet in a bedroom, is not necessarily required. So that's something you want to look at. Closets do not count as floor space for the bedroom size. So if you had a 10 by 10 room, but you had this little 2 by 2 section that was a closet, that 2 by 2, that 4 foot section, 4 square foot section, does not count towards the 100 square feet in a room. So you would not meet that in a 10 by 2. So you need to take out that 2 by 2 closet. I know the 2 by 2 closet is extremely tiny and not realistic, but I just want to give you a visual. Um, so you'd have to knock that wall out. Now you have a 10 by 10 bedroom, and then you could just put in a wardrobe or something like that to meet the needs of storage for residents. So that's something you want to do. Again, check with your state. Always, always, always don't just assume what I'm telling you is correct. If you're doing this by yourself, check with your state. If you want some help and some guidance on that, again, you can apply to the mastermind program, ALImastermind.com, free application. Lets me see if I can help you. If I can, I will send you all the details and you can decide if it's a good fit for you or not. I love coaching people. I love helping people. I'd love to help you if you feel like it's a good fit for you and you need some of that guidance right now. All right, Q&A time. Let's see. I've got about 10 minutes before my meeting, my next meeting. So for those of you that are here, that are live, make sure you're typing in those questions. I do want to thank everybody who has been watching. Make sure you like the video, subscribe, and ring the bell as well so you get notified every time we go live on Tuesdays or put out content on Thursdays. And so you get some of that information and get notified when we put those things out there. Make sure you're joining the Facebook group and asking questions there, posting and getting the help that you need in that group. Apply to the mastermind, ALImastermind.com, and check out the Business Foundation Basics course at assistedlivinginvesting.net/BFB for help with basics and building out that business plan. All that out of the way, Rose, let's see, Nicole, you would love to get to 12 beds. Yes, 12 beds I think is great. And you have to remember as well, people, when I say 12 beds, I am not saying you need 12 bedrooms in a home. Not at all. 12 beds could be a 6-bedroom home. They just need to be larger bedrooms, or it could be an 8-bedroom home. It just kind of depends. But you do not have to have 12 bedrooms when you're doing a 12-bed home. So I want you to know that. But yes, Nicole, 12 beds I think is a really good number. There's somebody that's in the group, Brandon Schwab. I'll plug him. You can go check him out. That this is what he does is high-end private pay homes that are more boutique style, and they're 12 beds. Brandon has a great model, and I love what he does. He and I have talked quite a bit about the work that he does, and I think he's got a great model, and it works really well for him. So 12 beds I think is really good. The more, the better, in my opinion, is what I like to say. Rose, so as much information about licensed residential care for the seriously mental ill as possible. My son takes his meds, does not take drugs or alcohol or smoke, not violent, but he hallucinates. So I'm trying to see here your questions there. So as much information about licensed residential. I'm wondering, Rose, if you want some more information about that population for the seriously mental ill. So I don't know if your son is on Medicaid or not, but that would be something that, like my house in Colorado, that's what we deal with, is that mental health population, and a lot of all but one of them are on Medicaid, and so we're able to work with them through that Medicaid waiver and serve them and help them out and meet their needs. Most of them, I don't know of any at this point. We've had people that have done drugs in the past, but I don't think there's any in there right now, at least that I'm aware of. Not on drugs, not alcohol. They'll smoke, which is fine. They're not violent as long as they're on their meds. But it's part of what we do is med management, and we follow their care plan. We work with their nurses, with the people that are providing the care, with their nurse team, with their case managers, figure out what their care plan is, and then we make sure we follow that care plan so that we are helping them out and meeting their needs, and getting them the things that they need so that they can remain stable. It is that is the hurdle that you run into when you're working with mental health, with the mental health population. They are incredible. From a business standpoint, they're great because they're younger. They can stay in the home for 40 years. They can come in their mid 20s and stay there till they're 80. They can stay in the home for a really long time, which is an incredible thing to do. And there's a lot of people, there's a stigma, I think, with mental health residents that you don't want to serve them, when in reality, they're just as good as elderly care residents. They're great. I love talking with them. They're incredible people. But the issues that they deal with are med management, and so you have to stick with those medications and you have to hit on them really hard. So that's something you have to do. The licensing process and everything there is very similar, though. In most states, I am not aware of other states. There might be slightly different things. They may call it something slightly different in a different state. There might be different boxes you need to check, but at its core, the process for obtaining a license to serve a mental health population is going to be the same as an elderly care population. So you're not really following different paths. Even like Medicaid, it's just the waivers that you want to serve is kind of how that works. So hopefully that answers your question there, Rose. Feel free to jump in and ask or give me some clarification if you need something. Renee, when I calculate the numbers for, do you look at comps? So calculate the numbers for a property. Do you look at comps of the property as well as the cash flow for beds? I would assume that the bed cash flow is more important than the comps. Yeah, I think you're right, Renee. You can look at comps. I think it's beneficial to look at comps because it lets you see what else is in the market, so you can determine if it's a good fit or not, if it can handle certain market rates. What you're going to probably find to be difficult is getting that comp information is going to be difficult. A lot of owners are not super excited to give that data is the best way I could say it. And so if you can find it, that's good. It gives you an idea, and then you can kind of compare rates that you're seeing on something that you're purchasing against something that somebody else is doing, and you can see, oh, there's a gap here. Like we could actually charge an extra $500,000 a month for this, and so it gives you a feel for what that would look like. But if not, then looking specifically at the cash flow of the space that you are buying, the bed rates and everything like that, getting comfortable with what those numbers look like and understanding them, and maybe if there's any seasonality there, whether it's from a bed perspective or anything like that, or why there are increases, were these Medicaid rate increases, were these private pay rate increases, those types of things. Understanding what that looks like, I think, is going to be really beneficial for you. And then it lets you see, okay, if nothing changed, we buy this facility, nothing at all changes, does it work? Or do we need to increase rates by X amount for it to make more sense? That's kind of how I would handle those. I know you and I have been emailing quite a bit, so if you have any questions on that, let me know, and I can give you some more specifics on it. But yeah, that's how I would handle that. Is look at the opportunity in front of me and see what it looks like today, and can that work for me or not? And then if not, what needs to change to make it work? And then those changes that I need to do to implement to make it work, is that reasonable or feasible? Can that be done or not? That's the thought process I go through as I work through all this. Okay. Oh, excuse me. Okay. So I am going to close us out because I've got my meeting coming up. I want to thank those of you who have been watching, though. Really appreciate it. Make sure you go and grab the business plan checklist, assistedlivinginvesting.net/BP checklist. It's a checklist to help you build that business plan and help you really start making some progress. And if you need more help with that and need some extra guidance, we're going to be doing a live workshop here in a couple of weeks. That's assistedlivinginvesting.net/BFB for Business Foundation Basics. That will be something that we we will build that business plan together, and you'll have the recording so you know exactly how to do that. And it's a business plan that is specific to assisted living, something that I've been able to use to secure the 1.5 million in SBA funding that I've done. So I know that it works. I know it hits on all the things that lenders want to see. And so that's what that course is designed to do. Again, that's assistedlivinginvesting.net/BFB for Business Foundation Basics. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Does residential assisted living sound interesting to you, but you don't know how to get started? At assistedlivinginvesting.net, I'm here to help beginners like you launch their assisted living business in the next 12 months. I want to thank you for watching, and also remind you that it doesn't take a lot, just a little bit. Keep going step by step by step. And I promise you, if you do and you're consistent and persistent, you're going to be successful. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.